Up? We are back with one more book review for today, and that is Human Flesh by Nick Clausen. I think it's Clausen. Never read anything by this author before. This was first for me. Uh, Honestly, the author's other books didn't really intrigue me that much. Just at first glance, and reading brief descriptions or whatever, But I may, give the author another chance and read some other titles by them. But this was really well done, and it's a short story. It's not a short story, like 50 to 60 pages or anything like this. It's a short novel, but it does enough. It does enough for the story, and you go in kind of knowing that it's not going to be some crazy lengthy plot or anything like that with twists and turns. It's all pretty straightforward. It's kind of a small story. It's really the execution and eeriness behind all of the main story that really gets the job done, I think. And to add on to that, the characters are nothing crazy. The story, I'm sure you've heard of something similar to this before. But it's well done. It's definitely something that I could have expected, but it was really well done, and I enjoyed every bit of it. So to start with the plot, it's really just about two kids who go to visit their grandpa for the winter or something like that. I believe it's just for like a week or so, visiting their grandpa because their dad rolled his ankle or something, so they couldn't go skiing. They basically go to see grandpa, and they're expecting a nice little family getaway, just like any other time when they were young, and they get the exact opposite. What ends up happening is they realize, oh, grandpa's being kind of weird, there's something up with grandpa. Why do we find him at night with all the windows open in the middle of the cold night, kind of just blankly staring off into the woods? And why does the wind sound like it's whispering to us? Those are some kind of creepy themes that go a long way in the book, I guess. There's this concept of the wind speaking to you was very eerie and interesting. That I had never really thought of as deeply as I did when I read this before. Yeah, that was just kind of a new thing for me, and I really enjoyed that part of the book. Yeah, I think things kind of escalate pretty quickly, and like I said, that's probably because it's a small story, but I know that this book was meant to be a small story and nothing more. I think if you tried to stretch this out into a full length novel, it wouldn't really do you any favors. I think it's definitely meant to be a shorter book. It leaves you wanting a bit more, I guess you could say. But at the same time, well, I want to start by saying my girlfriend read this book first. I often like her to read a book first and let me know if she thinks that I would enjoy it. And yeah, so she kind of does the test for me, if you will, and it's really helpful. She said it left her wanting more. For me, it didn't really leave me wanting more just because I knew that it was going to be a small story, nothing crazy, definitely cool concepts and a good what do you call it? Like it's a short story, but the execution was great. The execution was great. So I wasn't really wanting more by the end of it. I knew that it would be a small type of thing, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Sure, there are some questions I guess you have after reading it, but I don't think any of those questions were big enough to be like looming over me or want me to or sorry, want there to be another book or a full length version of this one. It really was meant to be a shorter story, and I'm glad that it was just that. Yeah, the scares in this book paid off. and the characters, like I said, were small. You don't need them to be anything big. But there is some gore. There's some sort of gruesome things that happen, I guess you could say, and that was pretty effective. Basically, the whole conclusion is where things really come together. The way this book is written is different. The way it works is you're reading journal entries and emails, text messages, and evidence logs. So I'll read the back for you. It says, during the winter of 2017, a series of strange occurrences took place in a small town of northern Maine. Okay. Now, that is a very kind of simple and minimalistic uh, description of the book. It is a lot more than that, but don't go into it thinking it's going to be anything spectacular. It's a small story, but it's a well done and effective small story. So yeah, the other thing, this is just an extra. The cover, you have this picture of the Wendigo. Um, and I'm noticing that the Wendigo theme is something that's kind of being used a lot lately. At least in modern times, the Wendigo concept has been picked up and kind of distributed among creative minds, and everyone's kind of giving their take on the Wendigo. So it's interesting to see, but it's also kind of getting to the point where it's like, all right, we've had enough of the Wendigo. This was not a crime to have written, though. There's nothing wrong with another another story about the Wendigo here. This is one of the better ones, definitely. But I couldn't help but picture the Wendigo from NBC's Hannibal. I think it was NBC. And I prefer the show Hannibal over the movies, any of them, except for Silence of the Lambs. Anyway, there's a Wendigo character in that show, and it looks just like that. I'm sure you can kind of tell where the inspirations came from. But anyway, it was a good book. I would give it 7 or 8 stars out of 10. And that may sound like there's a grain of salt to be taken there or whatever, but it was a well done short story. So go check that one out. Just know that I kept it real in the review. There isn't really much else to say about it, but you will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. If you like a nice kind of scary story that isn't going to last too long, just something to kind of make you feel eerie for a little while and then forget soon after, except for the long-lasting concepts that were brought up in the book, I guess, or explored in the book. So anyway, that's my review for Human Flesh by Nick Clausen. And yeah, go check this one out if you want to, spend a day or two kind of exploring a sort of spooky theme, spooky story, I guess. It's a spooky book. That's what it's supposed to be. Anyway, that's all. Go check it out. And yeah, that's all. Bye.